We're talking here on billing practices that both make you comfortable as the person putting out work, as well as the attorney that's investing in you as their freelance paralegal. Really what we're looking for here is a healthy relationship built on integrity and trust. You can stay within your lane of how you want the process to go and to ensure protection on yourself, while also becoming a little bit amendable to the attorney's comfort levels, especially in the beginning. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Paralegal Freelance Lounge. Jacqueline Foster here. Today I want to talk about the best billing practices a freelance paralegal can engage their attorney clients within. I really wanted to talk about this topic today as I've been getting so many questions about how to bill clients, what format you should bill clients in, how you should engage with them, as well as getting a lot of comments that, paralegals that are having no trouble gaining clients, but they're definitely struggling in getting them to pay their invoices. So I'm going to run through today the best billing practices that both protect you as the freelance paralegal, as well as give your clients a sense of protection with their investment into your services. So I'm going to section out this topic between two different types of service methods that a freelance paralegal might embark on. Number one is the hourly rate paralegal, and number two is the flat fee productized. You're paying for a specific work product outcome that's very much defined within your business. And actually, both of these models are going to have the same billing practices, but I definitely want to talk about them each individually so you can wrap your head around how this will actually be executed. All right, so let's start with the hourly rated paralegal. The paralegal that is exchanging specific hours for their hourly rate. Now, I did a whole podcast and YouTube episode on what paralegals are charging. You can find that by searching the episode 100K in 10 months. So for the purposes of staying on topic with this episode, I really just want to dive into how you're going to, once you've set your rates and you're starting to work on gaining clients, how you're going to structure your billing. So again, both you and your client can feel very, very protected and the relationship can remain healthy. Now, when I talk about an hourly rated paralegal, you're the paralegal that's really doing a lot of different types of work on a case. Or you might be a paralegal that's offering very niche services, but you're still tracking your hours for each service so you're not boxing yourself into a specific product. So there are three different methods to billing yourself out and receiving payment. There's a model where the attorney pays before, a model where the attorney pays after, as well as a model where the attorney's paying both before and after. Now, on all three methods of billing, I do highly encourage you to maintain an automatic payment system wherein you're keeping the attorney's card or bank information on file under your terms of invoicing to payment, and you're processing those payments manually on your own. And now, before you're like, oh my gosh, there's no way an attorney would put a credit card on file, you'd be amazed when I switched over from self-paying, allowing the attorneys to pay on their own time, they go in and they manually pay the invoice, to automatic payments. I actually found that a lot of my attorneys were relieved when I started implementing that. It was one less thing that they had to worry about. If you do get an attorney that says, I'm not comfortable with an automatic payment system, we have our way of billing, we use bill.com, or we use, we want to do it this way, make sure you very much ensuring that you have the protection in place, and you might want to stay further away from the pay after under those models with the attorney. Because you can definitely, it's your business, it's your ways. You can stay within your lane of how you want the process to go and to ensure protection on yourself, while also becoming a little bit amendable to the attorney's comfort levels, especially in the beginning. So first, let's talk about the pay before model. Under all of these three models I'm going to talk about today, I want you to really consider implementing minimum hourly requirements. What this means is that each month, for an attorney to engage with you as their freelance paralegal, you are requiring them to utilize your services for a minimum set hours during the month. So those minimums create a multiple effect of good relationships, ongoing relationships, good workflow, good delegation flow. It just creates a healthier working environment for you and your client. So when you have these minimums in place, we'll use my example, a 20-hour per month minimum. Some paralegals can go a weekly. I choose to go monthly, as I know attorneys can very much ebb and flow week to week in their cases, their deadlines, what's coming through the door, and all the fun things that is running a law firm. Let's talk first about the pay before model. This is where the attorney, you're almost productizing your hours. So even though it is an hourly service, you're exchanging time for money, you're packaging those hours up in a product wherein, okay, you're going to purchase 20 hours from me at the beginning of the month to be used throughout that month. They have that month to get work to you to fill up those hours. So they've paid you that money. Now you're going back and tracking your time diligently every single day. Every time you sit down and work on something for them, you're tracking those hours. You are counting that towards their 20. So what you can do with a strict pay before is you can notify your attorney, hey, we're at about 15 hours. We're in the middle of May. Are you looking to replenish your hours, or do you want me to get to my 20 and then stop for the month? Again, we're talking here on billing practices that both make you comfortable as the person putting out work, as well as the attorney that's investing in you as their freelance paralegal. And so you can always do something like a prorated amount. Say they purchase 20 hours up front at the beginning of May, and then by the middle of May, they need to supplement that with 5 more hours. They could purchase 5 more hours from you. Because I always recommend, again, the use it or lose it model. If we just sell 20 hours of work, it might take 6 months for them to get that 20 hours of work over to you, depending on how motivated they are to delegate work down and get it off of their desk. The second model of billing would be the pay after model. You're billing out work, you're tracking your hours every single time you sit down and work on the client's work, and then every month or every 2 weeks, they're paying for that time already spent. So the pay after model, if you are not totally comfortable yet asking your attorneys to pay you up front, can still have some protections around frequent invoicing and those automatic payments. And obviously it's a no-brainer on how you're doing this. Now you can still implement your 20-hour minimum requirement, for instance, for that month. Say you bill May 1st for all work done in April. If they only sent you 15 hours of work, you can still bill them up to that 5 hours of unused time. Now, the third one is pay before and after. This is what I implement in my agency. I find it to be very comforting for the attorney to know, like, okay, I can go over my 20-hour minimums, but I'm not paying upfront, 40 hours of work. What if I don't need 40 hours of work? What if I don't need the next package up? What they'll do is they'll pay the 20-hour minimum in advance. Say we start on May 1st. They pay 20-hour minimum in advance, and then on June 1st, if they say utilize the paralegal for 40 hours, they'll get an additional 20-hour minimum invoice for the month of June, as well as the 20 hours that they went over their minimum in May. So they're both paying 20 hours up front as well as paying backwards for the 20 hours that they went over. I utilize this model because it allows me to stay true to just a monthly billing cycle, keeping it very, very clear that, okay, if you only used 15 hours last month, and there's no vacation times, there was no request for a waiver, like no reason that you didn't get the work over to the paralegal, you're still going to be billed another 20 hours in May. You'll have lost those 5 hours that you used. But it also doesn't require me to bill multiple times every time an attorney fills up their 20-hour, pre-purchase. Maybe they use them 20 hours a week. I don't want to be invoicing 20 hours every single week. I prefer to do a monthly billing cycle with my clients. So that's how I have structured it, a little bit of a pay before and pay after. Now, in all of these models, I want you to be very, very certain that you're taking diligent time to track your hours, record them, and make sure you're sending reports to your client. I currently have my paralegals in a system called Hubstaff, where every single week the attorney is getting an automated report that's telling them how many hours the paralegal spent during the week prior on their cases. This, again, is a protection mechanism for both you and the attorney. It's allowing the attorney to review time, notify you immediately if they see any discrepancies or an area of concern. Sometimes mistakes happen. We accidentally enter a double billing, or, we forgot to stop that clock and we didn't realize it racked up an extra 45 minutes to an hour on a meeting that only lasted 30 minutes, right? So it helps the attorney to feel in control of that time that's being spent on their cases, to have that review period. Now, with that review period, I want you to be very, very clear with their attorney that they have a certain time frame where they can review and make any disputes. So always making sure that that attorney knows, okay, you're going to get weekly, daily, what have you, time reports. I would recommend weekly. Don't inundate them with a daily requirement, but each week you have, say, 3 days, 5 days to review that time and make any disputes. And if any disputes have not been made, you are waiving your right to dispute that time and it is payable. Now, I always explain this to my clients in the sense of, I want to be here to solve problems, but this is a mechanism that also protects us as the company that are paying the paralegals for you. And then as a freelancer, protecting your time. If you're doing direct work, you have nobody else in your company billing time to your clients, you need to be able to protect yourself and that time that was spent. So just giving them obviously a reasonable time frame to review your time. Make sure you're taking really diligent notes, separating out each task as good as possible. Bulk entries when you're working on multiple matters for an attorney can get really fuzzy. Make sure you are trying to divide out each task, at least by matter. Now, obviously, we don't want to work with people that penny pinch us, and we don't want to be penny pinching attorneys. So try to avoid rounding up for the tiniest little minute tasks. I have had attorneys notice a paralegal charge, a 0.15 just to confirm receipt of a meeting cancellation. Those little things, now that you're a business owner, you have to determine, is it worth the relationship to start penny pinching my client? And I can promise you, the more you penny pinch them, the more they will penny pinch you. Really, what we're looking for here is a healthy relationship built on integrity and trust. So really be clear on your billing practices as a business owner and the type of environment you're wanting to establish, the type of working relationship you're wanting to establish with your attorney on both ends, that this isn't a employee-employer relationship. It's not me against you. It's us working together and ensuring that we both feel very comfortable in our relationship and that we're not going to penny pinch one another or screw, for lack of better terms, one another out of money. Now, the next kind of model of business I want to talk about the billing practices within would be those types of services that are very much a work product. You're not coming in as needed, as delegated. You're not working in bulks of hours or keeping diligent time tracking. You're offering a specific drafting service or a specific service for kind of like a flat fee rate. I don't like calling it necessarily a flat fee rate, even though that's exactly what it is, but a flat fee rate for that project. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole in this episode and talk specifically about how you will package up different service offerings. But for example, just to explain where I'm at with this and this billing practice of flat fee, you're offering a specific service such as an estate planning package. Maybe you're offering a will and the ancillary documents for a flat fee. You have your process and you say, I need this, I need your design sheet, I need to know this, and this before I begin drafting. Because, as I stated before, you want to be very careful about not doing the flat fee under things that can be really unpredictable. Anytime you're working with attorneys, the clients of the law firm, to gather information, to put the pieces of the puzzle together to be able to actually get that demand letter out, for example, you have no idea how long that client's going to keep you on the phone. You have no idea how difficult that one doctor's office is going to be to get those records over to you. How many back and forths and, we need this HIPAA form and, we want our specific release form. How many times are you going to go back and forth with that where you're like, I'm losing all my money on this flat fee because the client is sort of derailing it, or the circumstances around this particular case is sort of derailing it. So when you're going that flat fee route, you want to make sure whatever you're offering is very predictable for you. Say you're going to draft a demand letter and you say, this is the flat fee up to this many pages of medical records that I'll have to review and summarize, or this is the price if you already have the medical summary done for me. Same thing with the estate plan. Okay, this is the fee we need XYZ before we begin drafting. Making sure that you don't have to go digging through a client's file, going and getting your own information to make that final product become the thing, the product, right? You can definitely go do hourly rates for specific services, but I do find a lot of paralegals will go into the flat fee rates for more of this product type service. This is what you're getting for this flat fee rate. Because then usually those models and those types of services are scaled with a team where you're going to add more people to each component of getting that product out. So the more predictable you can make it, the less, hourly rate issue. We're not itemizing billing. This is just what you pay for and this is what you get. It's going to be the same exact model of invoicing, the same structure of invoicing, the three options that I have laid out in the hourly rate services. It's the pay before, pay after, and the pay before and pay after. Now, the pay before can be where they have to pay you their flat fee full upfront before work even begins. Maybe you have them pay at the same time they submit the information that you need to be able to execute. And that's very straightforward with a product. You could definitely streamline that online even. Go into our portal, make the purchase, make the order. You have, a product sitting there, purchase a demand letter, upload your files, make the payment, boom, we're done. We're off to the races. You'll receive your draft within 48 hours or whatever you set. The pay after would be, we have completed the project. Here is the final output. Now we take payment. I can understand the fear of the pay after, and that, again, going back to what we talked about in the hourly, you can always keep a card on service on file. Obviously, you don't want to be charging a client when they've completely disputed your work product. But it definitely can be a model, providing them with you are basically putting your card on file. You have 2 days or what have you to review. Let us know of any errors, allow us to fix them, and then we will charge your card thereafter. And you can also do the pay before and pay after. And they're putting a deposit down, maybe say like half up front and then half on work product deliveries. This can especially be a lucrative payment model in this particular business model of productizing your service and doing a very niche service as you get into the team model, because that upfront deposit can at least cover you for your team and what you have to pay them for getting this work product back to the client. So it at least covers that you're not having to pay out of pocket, but it also gives that attorney that confidence of, I'll put the deposit down and then I don't have to pay until that product has been delivered. And also make sure you're setting really clear-cut guidelines as to your process of, say the attorney gets the work product back and they're like, we have to make this edit because we just found out this new information. You can either offer one free addition, edit, change to the document, a minor change to the document. It happens a lot in estate planning where the clients are like, you know what, I changed my mind. I actually want to give 25% to John and 35% to Jeff and then the rest to Susie, right? They changed their mind, or maybe they got in a fight with their family before they come in to sign. You could offer like one minor change to the documents, no charge. I have seen some companies that do these types of services charge a $50 editing fee or an extra $75 editing fee. You should definitely, if there's errors within the document, offer to fix those at no additional charge. Just giving that attorney that peace of mind to know that you're really going to stand behind your work product and that their funds are safe with you and that you're going to ensure quality work gets back into their hands. And so all this is to say, I see so many paralegals getting on these groups and these forums, and they kind of get down the protect ourselves rabbit hole. And I totally understand that. Trust me, as a business owner, I am responsible for paying all of my paralegals for their time. I have to make sure my clients are happy with the work. So I totally understand the need for protecting yourself in those circumstances where an attorney, you did great work, you're responsive, or what have you, or they're not completely understanding why that case got so derailed and required extra hours. I get it. You have to protect yourself, but we also have to be looking at it from the consumer's point of view, from the attorney that's investing in your time, that might be a little bit nervous up front to be giving money away and not knowing what kind of work product you're going to put out, not knowing how responsive you're going to be. Are you going to show up? Are you going to meet deadlines? Are you going to are you going to make my life easier or make my life harder? And a lot of attorneys that are going the freelance route, you have to understand they sometimes have very tight budgets as they're going through growth phases in their company. And they're trying to keep ROI present so that they can continue to grow and sustain that growth. And so we have to look at it from their point of view in that respect, to saying, okay, we want to make sure they feel comfortable with the relationship as well. But essentially at the end of the day, it's a protect you, protect me mechanism. We have protections in both places. So as to summarize, those protections in place for any model you choose under that hourly as delegated type service, where you're watching your hours, you're giving them constant time updates, you're checking in with them weekly. You could also, even in a lot of situations, what I do, it's rare that I have an attorney and I have an attorney and a paralegal start on the first of the month. Sometimes they're starting at the end of the month, where I say, I'm not going to start charging my minimums until next month on the first. So that way they're getting about 2 weeks or so, or a week with that paralegal to really start confirming their work product and their communication style and their professionalism. So it's allowing them to sort of try this out, not put too much money down up front, or you can prorate in the beginning, or you could say, hey, for the first week, we'll do a pay after model method. It's low risk for you, maybe a few hours, to really set that tone of mutual trust, and that you're here to make sure they're happy with your service, but that you also need some assurance that you're going to be properly compensated for the time and the effort you put into the company. And that goes the same way on the product type service. They haven't seen truly work product. They might have samples of your work product, but that's what they are, samples. Really on that work product is just giving them, okay, the first one you're going to pay after, or the first one is, pay half up front and then the remainder once you're happy with work, and then moving on to the pay before. Because if you truly know I'm going to put out great work, that attorney's going to have no problem paying you up front if they trust in your work, they know you're good for it, they know that you have their best interests in mind as well. Attorneys are definitely not as skeptical about paying upfront, especially if you give them that week, 2 weeks to feel you out, that one project to feel you out and to see your quality of work, your deliverables, your commitment to deadlines, your communication skills. Then it'll be a breeze, and they have no problem covering that upfront, especially as you're keeping them informed, in the loop. Here's where my time's at every single week. Look at my time reports, look at my itemized, to the most part by matter, how much time I'm spending. I promise you it is less insulting than you might think to ask your attorneys to pay upfront for your hours. Thank you again so much for joining me today. If you want to get started with your own freelance paralegal business, maybe you're fumbling around, where do I begin? What do I need to be focusing on? What's sort of like a step-by-step checklist that I can run through in starting my business? I have a free guide for you. It's linked here in the description. It'll run you through my 12 steps of what you need to be considering for starting your freelance paralegal business, as well as a link to an hour-long free training for starting a freelance paralegal business. So be sure to go grab that if you haven't already, and stay tuned for my future course launch dates. We have our signature freelance paralegal roadmap course that launches a few times a year, as well as our freelance paralegal marketing mastermind that will be available for purchase shortly here in the near future. So be sure to go check out that free resource. And as always, hit me up with any questions, follow-up questions on this topic that you may have. I would love to answer them for you. And until next time, have great days ahead of you.